Alright, so I just got done playing a little game called Ghost of Tsushima. It was an exclusive for PlayStation, and I played the Director's Cut for PS5. My first time ever playing the game, and I was absolutely blown away by how amazing this game was. This game was developed by Sucker Punch, and the game director, Nate Fox, actually directed all the Infamous games, and he made another banger here. I really like whatever this guy's doing. Looking forward to any more games that he directs. There's something about the way he's going about storytelling that's working, and I want to see more of it. But anyway, yeah, I just beat this game. I platinumed it. I'm actually working on the DLC right now, the Iki Island DLC, and it's been a while since I played a game, open world game like this, that I felt completely satisfied by the end of the game. Now, it wasn't a perfect game. There was a couple little, graphical problems in it. When it would rain, I don't know if this happened with anybody else, but when it was raining in my game, you would see like purple and green like coming through the rain pellets. I don't know if that was happening with anybody else's game, but it's something I was noticing on mine. Other than that, there wasn't really any technical hiccups with the game. That was probably the only thing I was noticing, the only thing that was sticking out to me. Everything else worked completely fine. It looked amazing. This is one of the prettiest games I've ever seen. It loads super fast on PS5, which was surprising to me. When I look back at some PS4 footage, from people that played it when it first came out, I noticed that there was loading screens for the fast traveling, and that was blowing my mind because, I never played the game before. I was playing it on PS5, the Director's Cut, and every time I would fast travel, there was no loading screens. It was instant. So just to see, how quick the load times were on PS5 was just more of a reason to get a PS5. I really enjoyed this game, and I went about it pretty much how I do with any open world game that I like a lot. I collect everything as I go. I do all the side missions before I do the main missions, and I did that with this whole game. And by the time I got to the end of the game, I had everything pretty much done and collected, so getting a platinum wasn't that hard. And basically what this game is the Mongolian invasion of the island of Tsushima, which is an island that's located between Korea and Japan. It's a real island, a real place, and the game is set in the feudal era of Japan during the Mongolian Empire, as the Mongolian Empire was expanding, trying to invade Japan. And if there's one thing this game accomplishes for sure, it's getting you invested in the history of Japan. I'm into history, but you don't really learn a lot about, Eastern history, Japanese history, Mongolian Empire. That's stuff you don't really learn about that much. And the Mongolian Empire was massive. It pretty much was like all of Asia and Eastern Europe. It spread across a whole continent. And this game takes place during like the third generation of Khans. So like Genghis Khan is already dead, and we're on to like the third generation of Khans. And that's the bad guy in this game. Khotun Khan? I forget how to say his name, but he's the grandson of Genghis Khan invading Tsushima. And this game is essentially alternate history of Tsushima. What would it be if the samurai on Tsushima won and they actually beat back the Mongolians and stopped the invasion on Tsushima? That's the alternate history of this game. Because after playing some of this game, I went and looked up the history of Tsushima. And in real life, the Mongolians take over the island pretty easily, and they use it as a launching point to try to invade Japan, which the Japanese actually stopped them on mainland Japan and pushed back the Mongolians. The Mongolians never invaded Japan. They were never successful. But Tsushima, they were able to take over pretty easily because Tsushima was more of a pirate bay. It was more of like an island for pirates that would raid Korea, and they would escape back to Tsushima. That's what that island was. You can almost make the parallel to the Caribbean, when pirates would raid and then go and hide in the Caribbeans in the Americas. It's almost the same type of situation there. And I like the alternate history they present in this game. I thought it was pretty awesome to actually do the ultimate power fantasy with a samurai and just take out hordes of enemies and stuff like that. Because the samurai is like the coolest warrior there's ever been on this planet. Like, it feels like there should be like more games based off samurais, but there really isn't. There's only like a handful. And I was really impressed with what they were able to do with this game. There's even a Kurosawa mode, legendary film director from Japan, and you could turn the game black and white and put Japanese voice acting with English subtitles, and it will look like a movie from like the 60s and 50s from Japan. It's awesome. Like, I've played a few hours in that mode. It's a lot of fun. And this game takes a lot of cues from those, samurai movies from Japan. There's even a lot of outfits in the game that are pulled straight from, Ronin and, Twilight Samurai, and a lot of these classic samurai movies. So there's a deep appreciation and love affair with, samurai movies and also like Japanese culture and history in this game, which is awesome to see. Not a lot of games do this, not a lot of movies do this. And there's also some Western influence. Definitely the Western RPG mechanics are in this game, but also story-wise, it does feel like an old Western set in feudal Japan. And if you watch an interview with Nate Fox, the director of the game, he mentions that they pulled a lot of influence from not only samurai films, but also Wild West films. And, I gotta say, this is Sucker Punch's best game they've ever made. Like, I love Sly Cooper. I love all those games. Very fun, entertaining games. Infamous, I remember playing those for the first time and just being totally invested in that storyline. Because that's one of those games where you got to pick what route the story took. You could be good or bad, and the story would change based on the decisions that you made, which I thought was pretty cool at the time. And they kept that up through the Infamous games. And in this game, you do get choices as far as like dialogue choices, but they're not that many. There's only like a handful of times you get to do that, really. And there is no choice that affects the story of the game until the very end of Ghost of Tsushima. Then you get a choice that will drastically affect, the end. So, I like that they still give you a choice, but it's not too many choices, They still have a specific, route they want you to take with the story and stuff. They're trying to tell you a story. But it's nice that at the climax, at the very end of the game, they still give you a choice. If you're watching this, I assume you already beat the game. Or at least you saw the gameplay of it and saw the ending. I chose to kill my uncle, because the game is about the main character, Jin Saki, and you're battling the Mongolians with your uncle, who is the head of some other clan, and this uncle sees you as a son, and the game opens and you battle, and you lose to the Mongolians, and Jin has to come back and take the Tsushima island back from the Mongolians, using Mongolian tactics, sneaking up on them, stabbing them in the back, poisoning them, things that are against the samurai code, and it causes a rift between the main character, Jin, and his uncle, Lord Shimira. I think that's how you say his name. I can't remember. But yeah, that's your uncle. There's a rift because your uncle still wants to, win honorably against the Mongolians. Fight them in like open combat, with honor. And Jin wants to just win and get these Mongolians off the island and save their culture and save their people at any cost, which is something I think everybody can identify with, right? And while, Jin honors samurai culture and Japanese culture, he sees the pitfalls in it. He sees that it's not going to be enough to save the culture from the Mongolians. So he has to resort to tactics that are deemed unhonorable to the samurai. And something else the game director mentioned in an interview, he said that this game is essentially the evolution from samurais to ninja. And that's like your main character pretty much becomes a ninja by the end of the game, really. They call him the Ghost of Tsushima. He wears a lot of black and he has a lot of throwing objects and he can, kill people from above. And it's very stealthy and stuff. You learn a bunch of stealth tactics to take out people. Like, you can go through most of this game just being stealth. And I like that idea. I like the idea from, learning the history, trying to figure out how we go from samurai warriors to ninjas in Japanese culture. I like to see that part of history. And I like that they're doing it in this game. It's kind of like an introduction of it. And it feels like, games in the future, if they keep going with this type of storytelling and timeline, that the next game will be about ninjas or something. And then it'll like evolve from there and stuff. And I like that idea. It's a way to like change up the gameplay and story and not have it be repetitive, not have it be the same game over and over. I feel like that's a direction the series could go in. But anyway, back to Jin and his uncle, who have a rift because Jin wants to drive the Mongolians off Tsushima, and his uncle wants to do it honorably. And by the end of the game, after everything's said and done, your uncle sees no redemption for you because of the way you went about fighting the Mongolians. And the last moment of the game is you having a duel, having a standoff with your own uncle. and it's super emotional. I teared up playing it. And you get a choice at the end of that fight to kill your uncle or to spare him. And I chose to kill him because your uncle's all about honor and samurai tradition. And, you know, knowing anything about samurai culture, if you lose a duel, you pretty much have to die. You're either going to commit suicide or you're going to have somebody else kill you. That is the traditional way. And since your uncle is about that traditional life, you had to do it. And when you're actually, you know, you choose to kill him at the end, your uncle like kind of smiles at you and accepts it and is almost like proud of you. It's the weirdest thing ever. It's so sad and just a beautiful moment to end the game. And it made the whole experience of playing the game worth it, I feel. Because that's something with a lot of video games. You know, they start strong, they get you hooked into the game. The gameplay is, you know, fun to keep you going. But the storyline is kind of like meh, and it kind of just like tapers off by the end of the game. Not with this game. I felt like the story had such a good payoff by the end that it made the whole experience of playing the game worth it. And it actually makes me want to go back through and play the story again and experience the game again. On Kurosawa mode, you know, black and white with the fucking Japanese voice acting. I would really love to see the game through that filter. Gameplay wise, you could say they took some cues from Arkham Knight. You know, there's a square, you know, attack, L1 to block or parry. You know, it's very simple mechanics, but it gets deep as the game goes. You get more, you know, abilities and attacks and stuff. Different combos you can do during a fight. You get 4 different stances with your sword to attack enemies. There's a variety of different enemies, but I think there's only like maybe like 4 or 5 different types of enemies, and those enemies actually will get harder. Defeating them is pretty much the same though all around. You know, you have to choose the right stance for that particular enemy, and that's how you beat that enemy. The only thing that changes is that these enemies get more armor, and that's about it. Like, they're still the same types. You only get the same 4 or 5 type of enemies the whole game. But since they mix it up enough, you never really feel that. You never really get bored of the enemy variety. And the duels, I thought the dueling and like having these epic sword fights, I thought that was probably the high point of the game as far as gameplay goes. I wish there was a way to play the duels, like in some kind of like playlist fashion. You know, just do all the duels back to back. You can go and replay the duels on the map. You know, you can just pick them on the map and do it that way. I like the map layout. Now we're talking about the map. I like how it's broken up into 3 sections. It really encourages you to like clean up every section before proceeding to the next section, which I did a lot of. And I feel like it was balanced enough. You know, the first 2 sections are sizable. They have a lot of content. And then the last section is like kind of wants you just to finish the game, you know. It's mainly just a couple story missions in the last section, and it's smaller than the other 2 sections. And I think it's just to get you to the end of the game. I feel like that's the whole point, like the last section of the game, the last third of it. Just get to the end, you know? So I felt like the pacing was on point as far as the storyline and like opening up the sections of the map. I felt like I didn't feel like I was wasting time on each particular section of a map, you know what I'm saying? It felt like the game was always moving forward. And the game has tons of content. I was surprised by, you know, all the little collectibles in the game, how they all improve your character in some way. I like that a lot. You know, a lot of games just have collectibles for no reason that don't do anything for your character. But in this game, everything helps improve your character. You know, your health, your stamina, resolve. That's what your stamina, I guess, is in this game, resolve. You use your resolve to make different attacks and stuff like that. It can drain and stuff. You also use your resolve to help heal yourself and stuff like that. You get a horse in this game, but I never really felt any attachment to the horse like I did with Red Dead 2. How you're brushing your horse, you're grooming it, you're taking care of your horse. So when it dies near the end, you actually feel something. I didn't, you know, your horse dies in Ghost of Tsushima, but, you know, I really didn't feel much because the horse really doesn't matter that much. You call it and it appears, like it spawns right behind you every time. And you don't have to really worry about taking care of it. I even forgot its name. Like, you name it when you first get it. I completely forgot, like, what its name was and stuff. So, no, I like the way the horse responds behind you, though. I like that. It just makes it quicker, snappier. I could travel around a little easier. And maybe that's something they improve in the next game. They give you a horse and they find ways to make you care about it a little bit more. Because this game's not perfect. While it's, like, one of the best games I've played in a long time, there's these little problems with it that I feel like they can smooth out. like the supplies. Like you get supplies to upgrade your equipment and stuff like that. But by the time you get to the end of the game, and if you've been like clearing the island like I was, you'll have a surplus of supplies, and you'll have everything upgraded, and you'll just be getting supplies for nothing because everything's upgraded. So by the end of the game, I had over like 5,000 supplies just sitting there, not doing anything. So that's something they could smooth out for the next game. You know, make the supplies more balanced, or, you know, make crafting things more balanced so that you don't have this huge surplus by the end and you really use it for nothing. So, you know, that's something they could fix. But then again, this is Sucker Punch's like first, you know, massive open world game like this. Infamous Second Son had a pretty big map and stuff, but I feel like Ghost of Tsushima is probably like double or maybe even triple the size of that map. So as a first attempt at this type of game for Sucker Punch, they totally nail it, like in every way. I feel like the most important way is the story. And, you know, if you have a shit story with this game, I don't think it works as well, because the combat is just good enough to get you through it, I feel. It makes you feel like a powerful samurai, but by the end of the game, you're kind of wrecking people so easily that it does get a little like tedious. What keeps you coming back is the narrative. You want to see what happens by the end, and I feel like Sucker Punch really nailed that. You know, last time I felt this good about a story from Sucker Punch was probably Infamous 2. I got the same type of feels near the end of that game where you have to kill your best friend. Same type of feels. And I noticed this review is probably going on a little longer than I wanted to. But there's one more thing I wanted to talk about with this game, and it's something I felt while playing it near the end, and that is the game almost felt like it wanted to be a little bit more than what it was. Like they had a bigger concept with the game, and then they had to narrow it down because maybe it was getting too big or stuff like that. It almost feels like maybe they wanted two alternate stories and like different paths to go down. Like if you choose to be like a stealthy ninja, the story would go down a different way. And if you choose to be an honorable samurai, it would go down a different way. I feel like that's what they originally wanted to do. And you could tell that because when you do like, you know, these interactive scenes where you get to choose between some dialogue choices, it's always like a harsh response or like an understanding response. You get those two choices in the dialogue options during some of these like in-game cutscene areas, right? And that's where I feel like they had the idea to make two alternate stories. But for some reason, you know, they cut that back and they wanted to just narrow it down to one story. And I also believe this was the case mainly because of that last choice you get at the end of the game, which completely changes like the tone and mood of the ending of the game depending on what choice you make. Like I chose to kill my uncle, so it had a very somber, emotional ending. But if you chose to spare him, you probably would have got something that was a little less somber. I don't know. I haven't seen that alternate ending yet, which, you know, I probably should have did before recording this, but I'll definitely see it the next time I play, because that's the next one I'll choose is the alternate ending. But just the fact that the game has alternate endings, that lets me know that maybe they were thinking about, you know, two different branching story paths that you could have picked, just like all the Infamous games. But maybe the game was just getting too big for them and they just had to narrow it down. This is one of the most prettiest games I've ever seen. I probably already said that, but absolutely incredible. The particle effects on PS5 are out of this world. Just the way the grass moves is incredible. It's one of those games where they show like the E3 like slice of this game, how it's like super polished and stuff, and you're like, there's no way that's how the game is going to look by the time it comes out. And then you play it, and it's like, yep, it's just like that E3 demo they showed. It's pretty damn close. They totally followed through on their the promise they made when they first announced this game and showed, you know, little demos of this game. They absolutely killed it. You know, absolutely, you know, came through. The music also, just to mention the music real quick, is incredible. Incredible soundtrack. I would say, like, as far as like samurai scores go, the only one I've really liked is probably Hans Zimmer's The Last Samurai, the Tom Cruise movie. That's a great soundtrack score to a samurai movie. This one beats it, I feel. This game is better than that in a lot of ways. Great sound overall. Just a great soundtrack overall. I still listen to like the main theme on my iPhone. But anyway, that's it for now. This game's a stellar game. I had so much fun playing it. Getting the platinum. I do plan to finish the DLC, Iki Island, and then I was going to do the Legends things. They've actually added a lot of stuff to this game. There's this thing where you take on hordes of enemies. There's that you can do. You can always replay the duels, Iki Island DLC. And they've also added stuff like lock on. Like when the game first launched, you couldn't lock on your enemies. And now you can. It's an option in the menu. You can do that. So that's a whole different way to play the game now. And I'm going to go through and play that. So yeah, I feel like this is a whole complete experience that everybody should play, especially on PS5. It just runs and plays way better on PS5. Highly recommend it. I tried both 60 frames and I tried it in 30 frames. I couldn't tell much of a difference between 30 and 60 on this game, mainly because you're not really moving your camera that much. I tried to play the game as cinematic as possible, so the camera was not really moving that much. So, when it came to 30 and 60 frames a second, it was kind of a wash. Most other games, though, you could tell between 30 and 60. But this game, there was just something, it really didn't make much of a difference. I feel like it was trying to go for that more cinematic mode type thing. But anyway, yeah. Absolutely looks gorgeous on PS5, no matter how you want to play it. You know what I'm saying? Like 30, 60, it don't matter. However you want to play it, it's going to look gorgeous on your PS5. This was my first big PS5 game I got with my PlayStation. I spent over $70 on it. Totally worth it. Never played it before. Absolutely loved it. Loved the era. Loved the main character. Loved the story. I loved the music. The combat was a lot of fun. I felt super powerful like a samurai. It was not that much to complain about. Graphics looked incredible. There was only a couple moments where it was hiccuping and there was something wrong with the rain or something like that. But other than that, it was fucking polished as fuck. Absolutely gorgeous game. And it's a PlayStation exclusive. If you have a PlayStation, I highly recommend playing this game if you haven't. But that's going to do it for now. Comment below. Let me know what you think of Ghost of Tsushima. What do you want to see Sucker Punch do next? I want to see another game in this type of universe they've already created for Ghosts. Maybe something that's more ninja based. And it's a few decades later. The grandson of Jin, maybe. Jin Saki's grandson is a full-on ninja. Something like that. That would be cool. And just keep it up, Sucker Punch. They do such a great job at making games that, make you feel powerful. Like, the Infamous games is like a power fantasy on superheroes. And Ghost of Tsushima is like a power fantasy for samurais. I had a lot of fun with it. And, if I had to score it, I probably would give it a 9 out of 10. I think what stops it from getting that 10 is some of the little things they just got to clean up. They clean up these little things, and then the next game is going to be a perfect game. It was just short of perfect for me. It was just short of perfect. But there's so much about the game that I love a lot. Like the story, characters, music, combat. That kind of stuff was just top notch. I had no problem going through the game. And also, I had no problem just playing the game. A lot of times with open world games, I feel like I have to put on a podcast or something while I'm collecting stuff. But in this game, I wanted to hear the dialogue the whole time. I just wanted to hear every second of the game. So I didn't listen to any podcasts while playing the game. I was just straight up played it, and it took me 60 hours. I platinumed it and enjoyed it through and through. I probably will play it again in the future, one more time all the way through, see the different ways you can play it and stuff. But yeah, that's it for now. 9 out of 10. I'll see you all in the next one. Comment below, let me know what you think of this game. And I think the next game I'm going to review is probably going to be Kenya, Bridge of Spirits. I'm already getting through that game. That's kind of a difficult game, but I'm enjoying it. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
Are you ready? I am ready.
Oh God, here we go. Oh, don't make me fight you. God. You will not win.
I don't want to hurt you.
Don't make me fight you. It's gonna make me kill him.
The wounds dealt to my spirit will never heal. Killing me will only make them worse. You want revenge for my failure. This is not my revenge.
Don't make me do this. You can't win, old man. You can't win. Oh my god. Oh my god, I just wrecked him. Oh no! Oh my god. I think I just watched the greatest Star Wars movie of all time.
Honor me with a warrior's death.
Oh my god. Kill him. It's what he wants. He's all about honor.
I will make sure you are remembered as a great warrior, a wise leader, and a father. Thank you, my son.
Oh.
Find me in the next life. I will.
That is definitely the more dramatic ending there.